This month, Streaming Things is brought to you by the super patrons, and I'm about to shout them out. Thank you so much to Chester Copperpot, Jade, Jillian Morgan, Aaron Layton, Adam Horn, Andrew Gray, Casey McCain, Crystal Trujillo, Jen Robinson, John Collins, Kalisha Reeves, Kate, Kiki Newton, Stanton, Valerie, and Will Nash.
Kick.
Welcome back. My name is Chris.
I'm Andy.
And I'm Steve.
And this is Streaming Things, the one podcast to rule them all.
And in the darkness, bind them.
Sean Connery as Gandalf. We're going to be covering episode 7 of Lord of the Rings of Power this evening. We just finished watching these episodes.
This shit.
The show, I almost said, but it's not true. The show has one more episode. I forget what the title of the episode was. Doesn't matter.
The Eye.
The Eye. I knew that because I'm a professional. I'm a fucking professional. The episode is called The Eye of Sauron.
Yep.
AKA Halbrand. AKA
Just because he's like, ooh, ouchie.
he's
I'm
faking
in
it.
bed.
He loves that wound.
No, he loves
It's not even a terrible wound.
No, it's a wonderful wound.
Really excited to get to the finale of the show. Things picked up considerably on episode 6. I'm eager to get your all's overall thoughts on this episode. After that, we'll do a play-by-play, if you will, scene by scene, discussing everything that transpired. And then we'll roll right into our second breakfast segment where we talk about some Easter eggs, lore tidbits, maybe things we noticed. We're going to be giving it a reach on a lot of those things, right? And then the old Toby segment where we talk about the finest scenes in the South Farthing, our 3 favorite moments from the episode, and finally capping it all off, the one performance to rule them all. We'll give the weekly Streamy Award to one actor in particular that just carried this episode above the rest in our estimation. Steve, kick us off. How did you feel about episode 7, The Eye, the title that I knew?
You did know it. So episode 7, I think was a really, it was a great sort of, in a weird way, I feel like it was less of an episode of TV and more like an epilogue to a much grander story. It was almost like the season finale of the show was last week, where you end on this epic twist of the volcano going off and the heroes hath not won. It was the villains that kind of won. And then this was sort of the epilogue story. Like I could actually see this being like an opening act for season 2 in a way.
Yeah.
But it's kind of funny. Like, and I say this and people might think this is a bad thing that I'm about to say, but I don't necessarily mean it as such. I don't think it is bad, but we had the foot on the gas pedal, like last episode, really ramping up the tension, the energy and the stakes.
Hashtag family.
Oh, it's all about family. And in this episode, the brakes seem to be like just applied very hard. Like this episode was like, shit, we're talking about stuff. We're going to have some real meaningful conversations about post-battle life and what is the lands we're living on and what is friendships? How do we serve our friends?
Melon.
What do we do with all these melons?
What is the name of the lands that we're standing on?
Oh, God, don't.
Pretty important.
Get me on that, Andy. But I thought this was another solid episode. I'm surprised again that this wasn't the season opening for the episode opening for season 2. I'm interested to see how, because next week is the last episode. So I'm kind of interested to see like, what are they going to end this first season on if it wasn't what happened last week? Because last week was like, bah, big explosions. So we'll find out.
Meanwhile, Andy, what did you think about episode 7, The Eye, the title that I knew?
So I was coming off of the immediate hype of watching episode 6. I watched that today, just a couple of hours ago. And so this episode, by contrast, is pretty significant, like Steve said, slamming of the brakes, but still really, really good. And again, gorgeous. Like there was so much just walking around amongst the embers. But those embers were so pretty. It was so well done. It was so like I don't, I mean, it's dumb to call it cinematic, but I don't know what else to call it. Like, it just looked like money, you know, but in the best possible way.
It reminded me of Blade Runner 2049.
Yes.
When they go to Vegas.
Yeah.
And it's just like everything's orange and it just literally looks like
ashy.
a hellscape. Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
It looked like the back of Bezos's head.
Just money.
Just looked like money.
But no, I thought the episode was really good. And, you know, when you have those blow your load episodes, you have to have the follow up to say, like, okay, where do we go from here? I agree with Steve that in a lot of ways it felt like season 2, episode 1, like picking up the pieces. But I think that it did a lot of important things as far as like establishing motivations moving forward for these characters. My biggest problem with it is like Nori and the Harfoots has been like one of the most interesting stories that they seem to not know what to do with or where to put it. Because like last episode was the culmination of all of the other main players, them all meeting up and doing the thing together, you know, the climax. Whereas Nori's still kind of just off being awesome, but feeling like the C plot, and that it felt shoehorned in and kind of has this whole season.
They made it kind of a small attempt to tie it into everything else by saying like, there's a big fire rock.
Yeah, right.
Came out, got all the way over here.
We're here too, guys. Basically,
we must be somewhat nearby.
Yeah.
And so I'm disappointed about that because we're at the end of the season now and it hasn't been tied in like in an effective way. And I expect that we'll get something more significant in that regard next week. But I was really hoping that this episode was going to do it because my 2 favorite episodes so far have been 2 episodes that didn't have Nori in them, and that's not her fault. That's just the pacing of the show. And so I'm really excited to see where they go with it from there.
I think the Harfoots have been collateral damage to the fact that the showrunners have wanted to leave the reveal of the stranger's identity to a huge moment in the finale. Mm-hmm. And since the Harfoots are with him and they realize it's exhausting because he can't even speak and how much can we do?
Yeah, they can't squeeze
I think
that.
Steve talked about that last episode on the show. And I think that's 100% what happened to the Harfoots is they were like, shit, can't cut to them because he's still just kind of walking around in his bathrobe looking at stuff. Which is, you know, unfortunate because they are really cool characters. But again, I think this episode was strong. I'm going to say something that sounds really negative, but I'm going to lead somewhere. So I want everybody to hang with me.
Ooh, hang it in.
I think that sometimes the sentimentality of this show, especially in this episode, can be heavy-handed. Like Bear McCreary's score ramps up, its slow-mo kicks in, and I'm like, I got what you're doing here, but I'm exhausted from the last 4 times that you just did this. Apple being handed out.
That was
Still reaching for it.
I'm just like, grab the apple, man. Grab the fucking apple.
Ladies and gentlemen, Enya.
Like this episode could have easily been 57 minutes and been more effective, I think. And that's true probably with all of them. But as much as like it was somewhat heavy handed and it was a little bit exhausting, a lot of the moments worked. Which is where I was trying to lead with that. Like I felt like every character pairing had its dark night of the soul in this episode. And I was kind of eye rolly at some point. Like when it cut to the 4th main character, like it's all my fault. And then somebody being like, nah, bruh. You know what I mean? Like that happened a good 4 times in this episode. But I think despite myself, a lot of those moments really, really worked. I felt myself crying twice. One of the moments shocked me how much it affected me, and it'll be my number 1, old Toby.
Ooh, stay tuned.
But so that being said, I hope that makes sense. That was my kind of overall sense. But again, strong episode. It opens up with Galadriel covered in ash, the red tent. I don't know if that was a filter or something they didn't post, probably post. But it looked gorgeous. I loved it. The whole tent of death and fire upon, especially our Galadi covered in ash. Oh no.
He's all ashy.
Oh no.
Oh no.
But that was still gorgeous. Looking all Pompeii, that
She's
area.
laying there just like, I should have gotten out of the way of that volcano.
And again,
She just walked right into that thing at the end of the last episode.
yeah,
She's wearing that Galati baddie, man. She's not thinking straight.
no, nothing can stand up to Galati, not even Mount Doom.
No.
And I was struck again by the notion that fucking Waldrig was the cause of all this destruction of all things. You know, I just can't get over that fact that for the millennia of pain and anguish, just all leads back to Waldrig.
You know, the evil comes from surprising places.
That's-
sometimes,
you
know about Sauron?
That small business owner that couldn't even get a Numenorian loan.
You know what, Chris? Just a week ago, he was a small business owner doing his best. He couldn't even get a Numenorian loan, but look at him now. Look at him now.
Yeah, evil henchman of
He's moving things.
a guy who he thought was Sauron, but is not.
But hey, he's okay with it.
Wink, wink, fourth wall. So did you. And then Theo wanders out of the ashes to find Galadriel. She's pretty bummed about that.
My note is Theo's alive, sad face.
My note is Galadriel's looking for people. Oh, damn it. It's Theo.
Literally anyone else.
I will say we've
It's
been giving Theo a lot of shit this whole run of the show. But
He's really ramped up.
This is his strongest episode by far.
It is.
And honestly, I have to say, you talked about main characters being paired up. This was a very random pairing.
I thought so too.
And I
yeah.
thought it was quite effective. Like the
Yeah.
pairing between the two actually brought both characters into a significant place that they weren't previously.
Well, it's kind of cool. I think the symbolism of how he's been obsessed with that blood sword of evil, and she gave him her sword. So now he's got a good sword, you know, so that kind of is an arc for him. Like, actually, I'm not going to be evil, mother.
Where do I inject my blood?
But with that Lord Farquaad haircut, you'd be sad too. He's over there torturing the gingerbread man and shit all the time.
Not the gumdrop buttons. Do you know the
Muffin Man. Enough about Shrek. We cut to Isildur and Valantyr. Isildur saves Valantyr along with Queen Regent Muriel's help. We find the dead body of Antimo, unfortunately.
Poor guy.
I thought you said Timon when we were watching it, and I was like, you thought of them as Timon and Pumbaa,
Yeah.
and I thought that was hysterical.
It's a good pairing.
That is a good pair. I mean, Hakuna Matata, baby.
It's sad because Antimo didn't even want to fight war anymore. He was going to help stay back in the Southlands and let him help him rebuild.
He's going to hang it all up, but the poor boy got volcanoed.
Like, this was a cool twist, but I would, like, I'm not bitching too much, I swear, but I would have rather seen Galati and her hunting troop barreling across the lands, you know, killing orcs, which is what I thought we were going to get.
That's just wishful thinking. But
It is.
That's
It
just
is.
wishful thinking.
Just fucking, God forbid, I get to see her swing her sword more than twice over 12 hours.
I mean, they just started filming season 2 this like on the second.
Why would I
all right?
see the main warrior queen swing her sword more than twice?
You're going to see her swing her sword more than twice.
I better. That's all I wanted. We cut to, they go into the bar, the keep, where they happen to have put all of the women and children. Safest place in the village. Now they're all trapped in a
they looked
burning fiery hellscape.
They looked better off than some of the people who didn't seek shelter outside.
That's true. That's fair. Isildur goes in there along with Queen Regent Muriel to try to save the women and children. He gets them all out, but it falls on Isildur and ashes and embers fly into Muriel's face. She's like, ah!
Owie.
She gets pepper sprayed by the volcano. And then we cut to the Harfoots. Finally back to the Harfoots. They also see smoke, but Nori thinks that they're just grilling some bacon at the Grove. Holy shit. Smells like maybe humans. No, bacon.
Bacon.
Very excited.
Love that.
Runs around the
Love
corner.
bacon.
Not bacon. Volcanic rocks
Nice,
have been
crispy
hurled
bacon.
into the Grove, destroying their apple. It's an orchard is all it is, really.
Yeah, for real.
Which I was
They went
kind of
that
disappointed.
whole way.
I love apples. I fucking love apples.
Did you see those things though? I would walk 500 miles and then maybe 500 more.
Maybe.
Just a
da,
few.
da, da.
Da, 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 da.
I just picture fucking like Bubba and be like, apple pie. You can get candied apples.
Oh, but instead of shrimp, it's apples.
right, for real.
Apple
Like,
sausage.
Apple
what can you
sausage.
do with all those?
Apple butter,
Just apple sauce.
applesauce mac and cheese.
They're going to shit all over the trail after those
Real,
apples.
dude.
So yeah, the volcano, they must be kind of near Mount Doom, right? Wandering around somewhere around there. I don't know how
Relatively close.
long a volcanic rock can be jettisoned from a volcano.
I think
Super
it could be-
duper far.
I think
Miles, sure,
in
but
real life, well, I think in real life it could be relatively further than you'd think.
IRL.
Yeah. Like when Pompeii blew up, wasn't there like a bunch of rocks that like was flung hundreds of miles away? Like you wouldn't expect it to be as far as it is.
We should ask Sadok because he is a well-educated geologist who knows that volcanoes are formed when there's a new evil afoot. Yeah. So he probably knows the answer to how far the rocks can go as well. But the grove is fucked. And
I love the scene when the grove is fucked because even though like all the trees are like burnt to ash, people are like, well, I guess we'll still pick these.
They're still trying. Like they're hungry little hobbit people, proto hobbits.
Roast apples.
At some point, you got to look at a roasted apple and think, you know what?
I overdid that.
That's not going to taste good. There's no nutrients in that left.
Throw a little caramel on it. Might be okay.
Does Sadok look like a guy who trifles with some caramel?
Some fruit dip.
Some fruit dip.
If he knew what it was, he would love it.
He would.
So Sadok asks Nori and Poppy, hey, why don't you ask your weird tall buddy? Occasionally does magic, though poorly, admittedly. Maybe he can fix the grove. And they're like, no, I think we've asked him enough. And there's this reticence there saying shit usually goes wrong is the vibe I got from their look.
Yeah, he froze my arm last time.
Yeah, I don't think we should ask him for help.
Yeah, he froze my arm. It hurt real bad.
We brought it up when we were watching it. Did we ever see them again after he froze her arm?
I think the last time we saw them was, the incident with the arm freezing.
Yeah.
So is there like a scene that got cut out where it's like, oh my God, he froze my arm. He can do magic.
Probably so many.
Okay.
Probably so many scenes of Galadriel swinging her sword. Just
so
on the cutting room floor in favor of slow-mo horses.
Of which she loves.
But then Sadok's like, you know what? I'm going to ask him myself. But when he goes up there, he's taking it upon himself to heal the grove. He's magicking the tree. And then
Vinyata.
the branch falls, almost kills the little kid that we don't know.
Dilly.
Yeah.
That's the little kid.
Dilly Brandyfoot.
I wanted to know who the fuck is
that?
Who the fuck's kid is that? Who is that kid? Oh, his name's Dilly now?
It's even
I
worse.
kind of like him.
Every episode, there's just going to be this grander reveal about Dilly. Like next week, it's like, oh, Dilly's a fucking life insurance salesman? That's weird.
It reminds me of the baby in later seasons of Rugrats that's born. Tommy's little brother, Dill.
Oh, yeah.
Dill Pickles.
Yeah.
Same kind of entrance there.
That's who I thought of too. That's what I was
And
like.
his
I
name is
kind
also
of
Dill.
like him.
That's Dilly Pickles.
And also, have you been thinking about your future? It's pretty important.
It is.
Life insurance.
But Nori knows who it is. And
Roth
she
IRA
saves him.
is like a big ladle that dips into a pail of water. I do like what Sadok says when the stranger is whispering sweet nothings into the tree's ear. Sadok is like, maybe he uses little words so the tree can understand.
Sadok's view of the world is enviable.
I love Sadok, man. I'm so glad by the end of this episode, they were definitely like, yep, this is a main character. He is going on adventures and he is with the group. That made me very happy. Because I was worried that he was like, oh, he's just the village leader who will say things sometimes, but he's not going to stick around that long. But by the end of this episode, I'm like, my boy's being upgraded to main cast. Hell yeah.
I took note the sweet nothings that the stranger is whispering to the tree is Invigada lotina aquita. Invigada lotina aquita. I don't know what that means.
The invin, I took invigorate out of that.
Invigorate your tree
that was
limbs.
the closest like root word that I could come up with.
And aquita stands for little cutie because that's what he calls trees.
Little cutie. Hey, little cutie.
Invigorate, little
Invigorate.
cutie. And then we cut to Elrond begging King Durin for mithril. And he says that he'll give lumber and such supplies to the dwarves for 500 years.
Game, grain, and timber.
Game, grain, and timber in exchange for a little bit of mithril.
Some GGT.
And the other dwarf lords are like, damn, that's 500 years. That's a lot of game, grain, and timber.
It's a long wood.
Holy shit.
But can the elves hold that promise? To which Elrond's like, yeah, I speak the stone tongue. All right.
Stone tongue. He knows a little bit of stone tongue.
He does.
He learned it from Diza. And yeah, I think it's a really interesting exchange there because King Durin's like, can we trust elves? And Elrond's like, definitely not. But I am only half elf. Therefore, I am trustworthy on my human side.
Trust the not elf part of me.
But he was like, that means you're half untrustworthy.
Yeah, no. Just focus on the one. And King Durin decides to have a Durin squared meeting. Just the two Durins want to talk it out. The king says no.
Durins.
And he gets really upset.
My
Right?
friends making the double Durins look like a couple of double dorks. All right.
Mm-hmm. He says, not can't do it. We got to take dwarven lives into consideration above elven lives. And the sad part of this,
too deep.
We've all seen the Lord of the Rings trilogy many times. We know that King Durin is correct about this. Leave that Mithril alone. Balin will give you a royal welcome many years from now if we leave it alone.
Right meat off the bone.
And it's just sad to know that Prince Durin there is on the wrong side of history with this one.
Things you shouldn't do when you're mining. Dig too deeply.
Not
too greedily.
Definitely not too greedily.
No, those are the two things you never want to do.
And we now know Balrogs hate leaves. Holy shit.
Holy shit. Get off my lawn.
Diza goes off. Not happy about this. Your dad's got lice in his beard. He's a real piece of shit. Never liked him. She has to apologize about that. And then Elrond really lays it on thick with a reverse psychology manipulation. It's okay. Don't worry, guys. I'm just going to go die along with all of my friends and family. Everything I've ever known will die. Not your fault. Not a big deal. No. I'm supposed to be immortal. I'm the source of all light and love in this land, but I'm just going to go die. I don't know if I mentioned that part.
Here's that little piece of the thing that could save me that you gave me. I'm going to give that back.
You can have that back because it's not enough to keep me from not dying. So that's what I'm going to go do. If I mention that.
Don't sit and look at it and think about what could have been.
But he says, hey, elves don't say goodbye. They say this word, namaste.
Go towards goodness.
Which means go toward goodness. Yeah, that's what the hippies have been saying all this time.
For real.
And then the mithril laying on the table gives the leaf new life. And that's where Prince Durin decides he wants to betray the dwarven kind. Because holy shit, and I get it. In that moment, he's like operating on Elrond's belief that the mithril will help. And even that he's willing to do, but it's not quite enough. But now it's like, this is a fact. This would reinvigorate elven lands.
That was the elven
leafy veins.
Tree leaf, right? Like that was from the elven tree.
Yeah, okay. He gave Durin,
that's
like the
right.
seed.
That was the evidence.
That's right. Okay, I forgot that he had a tree in
He planted that tree underground, baby.
And he nurtured it. He cared for it.
And we should say, like, the deep lore.
He says, like, he's been taking care of that tree like it's his own son.
Yeah, he loves his tree. Deep lore, this is not relevant at all to actual Tolkien lore as far as like the origin of Mithril and like this whole conflict with wanting to save the elves. I don't think this has any bearing on like previous canon. I don't mind it at all. It's just a way to bring up something we know. Mithril, it's a good conflict for the show. You guys
I dig it. I mean,
you guys,
literally nobody has read the Silmarillion.
You dig it. So does Prince Durin. Oh, literally. Just checking in there to see how you guys thought about the Mithril plot line.
Yeah, it does bother me. But then again, I'm not like, I don't know the deeper lore of Tolkien.
Sure.
Lord of the Rings.
Sure.
So like, I
Few
know,
do.
I know there's some.
Many pretend, few do.
I don't. I know there is some controversy with this, but it doesn't bother me. It's like, oh, I've only watched the movies. I know Mithril.
Right.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it is kind of, I do
Kingly
think
gift.
I don't quite understand how it's going to save the elven spirit.
I'm just
but
like, sure.
I'm in for the ride.
That's just one of those, especially when you see it on the table, you're like, oh, that's how.
Oh,
just
it's helping the tree. You just got to be near it. Is it radioactive?
Right. So if Elrond used it like a butt plug, I'm just saying, just spitballing here,
man.
would it save only him? Because that's some
It
proximity.
would definitely cure diarrhea.
That's proximity.
Yeah.
Yeah. By plugging the jug.
Ew.
Sorry.
Fucking the jug. I don't
So
like
then
it.
Prince Durin shouts, Elrond, who's presumably down the hall just listening, because that's part of his minute.
He didn't actually, he just turned the corner and then stopped because he's like, any minute now.
He's going to set it near that fucking leaf any minute now. That's why I gave it back.
Elrond sets the leaf on the table.
He's playing chess. All the dwarves are playing
Manipulate
checkers.
My friends, check.
He's already done it before, but letting him win the game. And then the scene cuts. We go back to Galadriel and Theo. Galadriel feels very guilty for, bringing the Númenóreans to the Southlands and then allowing the volcano to erupt and kill most of the Númenóreans and all that stuff, right? And Elendil's out looking for a seal door. It's rough stuff all around.
Bunch of sad, dusty people.
And that's when I think Valentil and King Muriel or Queen Regent Muriel walk up to Elendil, and he's all happy because he sees Beric, the horse, and then some other weirdos riding him.
Yeah, he thought a Isildur was leading the horse, but he was like, "Oh, where's my boy?" And then those two show up,
My
and he's like,
boy!
"Where is my boy?" And the queen's like, "Single tear,
Real bad news.
real bad. Nothing good ever happens after someone gives you a single tear."
No.
It's never a good thing.
It's just because her eyes hurt.
Happy tears fall in twos.
So at this point, she has suffered her terrible wound, right?
Yes. But I think it's like a gradual thing. Oh, okay. She seems to be this. She's not like
she's looking above him.
She's not like, who is it? Right. Like elbows, Valentine. Yeah, the blindness reveal is actually really well done.
It's extremely well done.
My favorite thing about this particular scene is how he offers her his horse because he's a gentleman. Right?
Sure.
And then after they tell him the bad news, there's like, I don't know if it's directly after this, but shortly after you see the queen riding the horse. It's like,
she still took the horse.
She's like, yeah, really bad news. Isildur's dead. I will be taking that horse though.
I can't see.
Do you got any water? Parched. Got any snacks?
I love
got any trail mix?
I love the lines of dialogue that they don't say.
For real, dude.
And then we cut back to Theo and Galadriel, and he starts cussing out the orcs, saying everyone else is dead. I've killed orcs before, don't worry. And then Galadriel's like, hey, when I was your age, there weren't orcs didn't even exist because that's how old she is, right? Thousands of years old. And he's like, how many have you killed? And she's like, a bunch.
Not that we've seen.
I don't count. Yeah. off camera, a ton.
So many.
It's implied.
And he's like, good. And she's like, don't say that. That's not nice.
Calling dark deeds good can corrupt the heart.
That's right. She's trying to counsel him wisely, which is good because Adar showed her a little bit of a true nature of what she's become. And so you kind of see some coming back out to her light self, right?
Yeah, she's feeling guilty and she's probably replaying what Adar was telling her in that barn. And it's like, shit.
And her brother Finrod,
right.
rocks sank. Or
Rock says every war must be fought from without and within.
That's right. Meaning...
She's like not listening to her own advice is all I'm saying.
And she's starting to now, I think.
Yeah, she's realizing the error of her ways, I think. But she gives Theo that sword.
She does. This is where she gives him the good sword. Hey, I know you're kind of creepy, but everybody kind of fixates on things in their adolescence. For me, it was model airplanes. For you, it's blood swords. So that's fine. I just want to let you know, not a great hobby. So here's
at least it's not Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yes, it's better than that.
Just kidding.
Here's a Pokemon. And then we cut back to a really well done scene, but also, and I'm sorry for this in advance, it was comical to me. Maybe the bad influence of Steve being nearby. I'm not sure. This is where we find out that Queen Muriel is blind. And she says, hey, when's the smoke going to clear? And he's like, oh, it's been cleared. And so she realizes that's a red flag.
How long have we been cleared of it?
Yeah.
About a mile.
As soon as he says that, she says, I see, which is funny enough. That could have been like a gallows humor, like still pulling at my heartstrings thing. But what cracked me up is Elindio. I guess he's angry his son's dead, so he doesn't care about anyone else's feelings. He goes, oh, do you? And she says only gray. And since there's no gray around, this is implied that she is mostly blind, if not entirely blind.
And it was, and we can assume that it was from when the embers and smoke hit her during like when Waldring's watering hole fell apart. And
yeah.
Isildur got supposedly
trapped.
Killed. Yeah.
Definitely not killed because
definitely
he's in the prologue of the movies.
But they think that.
Yeah. Poor guys. They do. It would be better for the universe if he did die.
Could be a plot twist. He did die. Somebody else takes up his name.
It's Theo.
That's not what happened, but I'm just saying it could be.
That would be an interesting way to clear the name of Isildur, and it was just a pretender the whole time, and that's why they didn't choose the right thing. To
it makes so much sense now. Like when Elrond was like, Isildur, throw it in the fire, and Isildur went, no.
Yeah, this is for my mom, Bronwyn. It's definitely not what happened because he died. Yeah. It's off camera, right? But still, that would have been a good twist for the lore. But us nerds would have lost their minds, though. Yeah. Lore nerds. We cut back to Sadok sending off the stranger. Mm-hmm. Hey, here's the star chart. I haven't actually seen these in 1,000 years. It's just some drawings my great grand Harfoot gave me. But they should help you roughly navigate. But even with big legs, it's gonna be a lot of walking to find these stars.
There's some Bigfoot folk over there. If you go talk to them, maybe they'll help you find your stars.
Yeah, I don't know what you guys
should probably leave.
Yeah,
basically what
that's the vibe.
You almost killed Dilly, which I don't think is a big deal. But some of the people around here are a little.
I didn't even know he was here.
Honestly, I keep forgetting they have another kid. I just know Nori, and then that's it.
I don't know who you almost hit with that branch, but the Brandyfoots are really upset.
I'm more upset about Nori almost getting hit. I was like, Nori, why'd you just fall in front of that branch? Oh, he fell on a kid. Who is that?
Dilly's the John Cena of the Harfoots.
You can't see him. Dilly's about hustle, loyalty, and respect.
That's right. As he walks away, they see a little flower, or we see the camera pans on a little flower growing on the tree,
Little flower.
implying that his little spell, again, Invigata Lotina Aquita, worked. Aquita. And
You
then
sexy little tree, invigorate.
you sexy little tree.
Invigorate, you sexy little tree.
And Nori gives him the 10-minute apple exchange. And then and then we cut to sad Nori and her mother in their little Harfoot hut. Just sad girl. She's given up all of her dreams and hopes of being grandiose. I'm just a Harfoot.
I'm just a Harfoot.
I'm just a
That's all
Harfoot.
I'll ever be.
I'm just a stupid little Harfoot.
And the mom's like, yeah.
I just realized.
Go to bed. I think she says.
I just realized our name linguistically just means hairy-footed. That's terrible.
Go to bed, dear.
Literally, we're just hairy-foots.
Yeah, go to bed, dear.
I just realized that, by the way.
You've had a day.
I can see it clicking.
Yeah,
in
did
your
you
head.
guys the whole time?
You kept the accent going, though. It was impressive.
Thank you.
Yeah, you did.
Hairy-foots?
I didn't put that much
fuck,
thought
it
into
stands
it.
for Harry Foot.
Oh, fuck.
That's pretty fucking cool.
I'm Twitter not knowing shit. That's the turdy turd thing I learned.
And this is like the third or fourth Dark Knight of the Soul so far in
Yes.
this episode.
We cut back to
Well, we're gonna have part 2 with
even Galadriel and Theo even just swapped pep talks. That's how concerned they were with making sure you knew where we were at in the show. But cut back to Galadriel and Theo, and this time it's Theo that's like, no, it's my fault. I stabbed myself with a sword.
It really hurt all the time.
I'm just trying to prompt Steve into doing that voice. And Galadriel's like, nah, it's cool, man. And he's like, have you ever lost anybody? She's like, yeah, only thousands of people because, again, I'm millennia years old. Mm-hmm. But the only ones I can remember are my brother Finrod and my husband Celeborn.
Mm-hmm. Tell me, where have I been?
So where the fuck is he? She hasn't seen him since he went off to war, but he's definitely still alive.
I would much rather like to be in this story.
I much desire to be in here.
Galadriel, why does my armor not fit? You keep calling me a silver clam.
Yeah, he looked like a silver clam. And it's funny because the character of Celeborn that we know is kind of a,
Clammy
a
ass
goober.
bitch.
He's kind of a, yes, precisely.
It's so funny because, yeah, he is such a goober, but, and Galadriel's such a badass, especially at this time. I just need like a little, like, previously on Rings of Power, and they cuts to him just like, tell me, would you like to go out with me? Circle yes for yes. Or preferably you don't do this, but circle no for no. Tell me, what is your answer?
I much desire to know it. And Theo takes the blame ultimately, and she says eloquently, do not put the blame of all of this upon your shoulders. You might find it hard to remove it, or something like that. I'm paraphrasing.
Difficult to put it down again.
There you go. That's the benefit of not using a pen.
That's what I've been doing this whole time.
Using keys, baby.
I've been typing away, baby.
Whew.
But that's when the orcs arrive.
Orcs approach. They hear the noise of dumbass Theo drawing the blade Galadriel just gave him. She's like, stop, you're going to die. I'll probably live. And that's the vibe that I got. And I really like this part of the scene because I'm like, watching her fight twice, I've been able to ascertain that I think she could take all 12 of these guys. But Theo's definitely toast.
Oh, he's so
and so
toast.
she's like, shh, you're going to die. I'm going to take the sword back immediately.
I'm not going to save you. I don't even know your name.
Your whole life is a blip to my existence.
As soon as I leave you, I will forget your face.
Your haircut is terrible.
I will remember that haircut.
She's just whispering mean shit to him. I don't think you're your mother's son.
Arendir's your real dad, probably.
I think it's interesting to me that the elves aren't just mean as shit. Just being alive for that long, you would have disdain for mortals, I would.
I think they're just,
Yeah, for sure.
I would.
I'm sure at some point they are like that, but they're also, again, they're so old, they're probably over it. They're just like, oh, whatever.
Well, I mean, like a fly, for instance, only lives for a week? So to us, it's like, that was me swatting. And that's not a big loss, right? Like,
Right, but do you
only had 2 days
talk
left.
shit to a fly normally, or you just let it
me
like
personally, yes.
Yeah.
Every time I see one, what are you doing in my house?
I was just shopping for like a fly shotgun that you shoot salt at them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What?
I want one.
You haven't seen those?
No, that's the most Southern American thing I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, it's
You
this
fill
little
it with
salt gun.
table salt, and it's like a little buckshot, and you shoot down the flies.
Really?
Yeah.
Pretty dope.
So it shoots the salt pellets as like the BB pellets.
Yeah.
It's like buckshot, but with
it's a
salt.
little blast table salt,
And if you miss, it just gets salt everywhere.
pretty much.
But
yeah.
it's tiny salt, right?
Yeah, exactly. So you just sweep it up.
I feel like I would make popcorn and just blast my
Exactly.
popcorns with that shit.
Oh, you can do that too.
Can we get one? How much are they?
Yeah, I'm looking it up right now.
$40 or something. Yeah.
This is not a plug for the show. We get no money if you buy one of these. We're just for our own pleasure right now.
Ooh, you can get a Bug Assault Yellow 3.0 salt gun.
Okay.
It's $50 at Ace Hardware.
50 bones.
50 bones. It
Go to
looks like
patreon.com/streaming things. Help support our
it looks like a Nerf gun.
salt shotgun. Then it ends very dramatically with I didn't like this part, but Galadriel's like, after the orcs leave, after smelling nothing but ash for 20 minutes.
Nothing but ash.
Never mind. I'm Jason Statham, the orc.
Why did you waste our time sniffing then? There's ashes literally everywhere.
What are you looking for?
5 minutes ago.
What are you looking for, Tommy? The Germans. It's a bunch of snatch quotes for you uninitiated. They leave, and Galadriel's like, all right, Theo, I'm going to wake you up at first light. Just get some rest. And he's like, what light? And she's like, the sun. Stop being a little bitch.
I'm blind too.
We just had the pep talk. We cut to Durin digging alongside Elrond, so he's taking it upon himself to find the mithril. And this is the scene where we find out that Elrond was faking it. He let Durin win
Their contest.
the rock smashing contest. How do you guys feel about an elf beating a dwarf at the only thing a dwarf would be better than an elf at? Because I'm not sure I liked it, even though the scene was hilarious.
I thought at the time that he was faking. So I was happy that this ended up being the case.
Yeah, I mean, there was a long moment where he like looks over at Durin and then like, oh, I'm tired.
right. No, I mean, like, I think that the elves, they're stronger and more durable, but like, I don't think that they're necessarily better at mining.
They're definitely lacking the stamina relative to an elf.
I mean, there's logistics involved. The dwarves are better at logistics, right? So, you know,
Well, they can literally make the rocks move by singing.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
But yeah, so
I mean, there's a long
elf lies.
There's a long and storied tradition in Lord of the Rings of an elf just upstaging a dwarf
Yes.
constantly. So I mean, this was kind of like fun.
Right.
When Gimli has 2 kills at Helm's Deep and Legolas is on 14
That still only counts as one.
because he knocks the ladder over and takes out like 30. Oh, good times. But yeah, he says elf lies, and then Durin says, "Do you know my secret name?"
That was a good Durin. I like that.
And Elrond's like, "No, what is it?"
Don't tell me. I don't like where this is going.
Yeah, Elrond gets a little uncomfy.
For real.
Durin, you made it weird. You made it weird, buddy.
It's like one of those in the locker room. Do you want to see my tattoo? No.
Does that happen in locker rooms?
Every time I go in there, does it not to you?
I don't. Well,
Is it always between their legs, Chris?
And I go like 3 times a day, and it happens every time.
okay, so if
just
you
wait in
go
there.
into if it happens once to you that someone asks you to see their tattoo,
Shame on them.
But if it happens to you every day, Chris, that means you're the person asking people to see your tattoo.
I just linger in there, just sitting there naked with my salt
You want
shotgun.
to see my tattoo?
Who's got him? Let me see
I
him.
look like Viggo Mortensen in Eastern Promises, just hanging out naked in saunas.
You're never at
That's
the
a deep
gym.
cut.
You get all sweaty. You go in, you disrobe, you sit on the bench, you strike up a convo, and then say, "Hey, do you want to know my secret name?" Because that's what I do.
Oh, this is totally not here.
That's how I make
here nor
melons.
there, but like the weirdest interaction I ever had in a locker room was in high school. There was this kind of an odd duck of a man.
Quack quack.
And we were doing swimming, so you would have to like disrobe completely in the locker room at this
Yeah,
point.
of course. I always do, whether it's necessary or not. But go on.
And I was fully dressed. I'm sitting on the bench.
You're
tying
wearing a
my
hoodie.
shoes. Well, the class had ended, so everyone's getting dressed to go back into regular classes, right?
Sure.
And I'm sitting on the bench, I'm tying my shoes, and I see out of the corner of my eye, his shoe is like propped up on the bench, and he's tying his shoe, and he asks me a question. So I see his shoes on, so I'm like, oh, it's safe.
Oh, he went shoes first?
He went shoes first. Dude is Donald ducking it. And then in the locker room where he's got a shirt, nothing, and then shoes. And to this day, I am so perplexed. Like, when do you put your pants? You put your shoes on before your pants?
That's bizarre, but he was swinging.
He was hanging dong.
And he Captain Morgan'd you while swinging?
He Captain Morgan me while Donald ducking it.
He put a leg up on the competition?
Yeah. And I was like, God, what are you doing,
He
man?
was flexing on you. That's what that
He
was.
100% wants you to peep it, man.
He was flexing on
You done
you.
peeped it.
You know,
like success.
He was one of those guys that always wore sweatpants. So I'm guessing the elasticity of the sweatpants allowed him to put his pants on last.
Sure.
That's all I can think of.
Well, he also wears sweatpants because he wants you to see his dick. I mean, that's obvious.
I mean, I'm glad that he was proud of it.
Yeah.
He goes to the strip club in sweatpants. He's that kind of guy, which is it's not cool, by the way. But I think
What is the etiquette on strip club sweatpants?
Don't wear them.
Yeah.
They're too thin.
Yeah, that's not cool.
okay.
Man. That's not cool.
I've never been to a strip club, so I don't know the etiquette.
Well, don't wear sweatpants when you go.
Okay, well, I now have that life lesson.
Here's what I think. Here's my theory on this guy. A little bit of an exhibitionist, sure. Should he have Captain Morgan'd you? Definitely not. Definitely not.
I'm so glad we're taking Rings of Power to a halt so we can
Worth it for the story.
There might have been a hygienic reason because, you can get athlete's foot from locker rooms, right?
Oh, that's true.
You don't want to like walk barefooted
That's
over
true.
where everybody else is doing God knows what. That could have been his concern.
I never thought of that.
Of course, then he's putting the bottom of those shoes into his inside pants. So that's
Way worse.
yeah. But I mean, I think that was his thinking there.
He's about to have
Sure.
athlete's balls.
That's called jock itch. Moving on. They resume digging.
Meanwhile, on the Rings of Power.
They resume digging after he does take a drink of water. They find a giant thick vein of mithril in this hole. And then I don't know why I said it that way.
Veiny and thick.
And then King Durin comes in, busts him, and Prince Durin's trying to distract him, like, look at all the mithril, right? And he's like, he's not having it. Sees the elf. I thought something more heinous was about to happen, but they just throw him out. Yeah. I don't have the heart.
Celebrimbor's still out there like, hello, this whole time.
There you are. I've been waiting for 4 episodes.
I was starting to worry.
You want to make the rings now? Can we do it? Can we do it?
Can we do it?
And then we cut back to King Durin, what I thought was a powerful scene, telling little Durin a story about when he was a baby. He was kind of...
You're a weak ass baby.
Yeah, you're super weak.
You sounded really funny. So I put you against the fire.
I held your chin up so you could breathe.
And I imagined the baby had a beard and I got happy.
For real. That was the story.
But it was a really powerful scene, I thought, where he's like disappointed in his son, but it goes back to how much stake he's always had in him, how much he's always believed he'd be the most powerful king ever. And basically, a sentimental way of telling you how much he's disappointed him, That's the worst thing you hear your dad say. I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
You didn't live up to the Snapchat filter that I imagined.
Yeah. I pictured you with just an enormous beard that you would move mountains. And Prince Durin gets angry and is like, you won't let me move mountains. I'm literally trying to move this mountain. You won't even let me dig a hole. Mm-hmm. And they start screaming at each other. How dare you?
Suffocate any ambition or idea I have.
That doesn't originate from you. From you. So they scream at each other and he essentially disinherits him, takes his like gold. It's not a breastplate. It's not a necklace. They called it a crest. That doesn't really count either. It's something that signifies that he's the heir to the throne. I think that we can gather that from the context, right? And hilariously, Prince Durin picks it back up. Like, oh, took this off. We're just going to put it back on. And then King Durin just shotgun salt into the wound, turns around. Leave it. It's not yours anymore. I'm going to give it to your cousin, Baldrin.
Also named Durin.
Really no loss there to the history books. And we cut back to the Harfoots. They're joking about apple sausage. The whole grove has grown back to fruition, literally fruition. Boom. Nice. And everybody's all happy. They're gathering apples and stuff and putting them all in their carts. They're all just going to have a mad harvest. And then we cut to Poppy. She sees a big old boot print, a Bigfoot, if you will, drops her bucket right in the river, sends it on downstream to the Cult of Sauron. I don't know why I got all Southern.
These Sith Lords.
Yeah, the damn Cult of Sauron.
Goddamn Cult of Sauron.
Walking on up through the woods, uncontested.
No, thank you. Not interested in any of your literature. Please turn around. We're not wanted in these parts no more.
Your fingers are dirty. I think it's gross.
You better not burn our apples. Better not. We just got them unburnt. Damn it. Them apples been burnt twice.
We're going to have to call that stranger one more time.
Get the stranger back.
Hi, buddy. So
you're never going to believe this.
You're never going to. We've really found ourselves in a bucket of syrup. You see, these Sith Lords came in and they burnt down our whole treasure trove of carts and apples. And, well, Humdinger, we need you to come back in here.
We're in some real thick gravy.
Yeah, we're in some real thick gravy.
This is a recipe for strong gravy. Cry in a bucket. We need you.
We rattled dags all night to get to you. Anywho,
we're having too much fun.
And then the Cult of Sauron starts tracking the stranger. And then Nori, she wants to give back to the stranger for all he's done for her. Uninspired attempt, really. But she just runs out and says to someone who can clearly magically sense the direction he went that way.
Well, no, he had a path of like bloomed flowers that he left in his wake. And so they're just like looking at these yellow flowers like, oh, he went that way.
Yeah, right.
Hey, you totally went over there.
Yeah.
They're like, nuh-uh.
They teleport to behind her. Mm-hmm. Her family rallies to her defense, which is really against the Harfoot way. They're like, they normally would be like, oh, you exposed yourself. Mm-hmm. You're done.
Left behind.
You're going to give your cart to Carl. Definitely not Dilly. We don't know who that is.
What was their little don't fall behind? What was their little...
We'll leave you to die.
Leave the trail.
Right. Yeah, we will leave you to die. And if you die of bees, we'll make fun of you for years.
Yeah, and we'll laugh at you. It's our little only tradition. And then, there's some really cool magic there where Largo jumps out, tries to scare the Cult of Sauron, which is what I think they are. Yeah, I'll bring you. Thrust his torch in their face. And the M&M one is like, you're lacking the stamina. Grabs the torch, puts it out immediately, and then flicks the fire all over their carts full of apples. Which, was that apples, or was there also some of their familia in there? It's just the apples, right?
I thought they was just their cart. That was everything.
I would hope none of their familia, like Dilly was in there.
Damn it, we just met that guy.
We just knew his name.
Oh well, now we'll laugh at you later. Got to figure out a way to put this into a poem. So all of their apples burn up, and then they leave them there. And then we cut to Elendil. He's trying to calm Barrick the horse, like, bad horse.
That's how you call them.
That's essentially what he did.
No.
It's Steve with his dogs. Quit. But like Steve's dogs, Barrick doesn't listen at all.
No, they don't.
And he has to set Barrick free. Valentil's like, he's not going to listen to any of us, but you got to let him go.
He's a Isildur's homie now. Just
reminding you that your son's dead and that horse needs to go.
That's the last thing he has of his boy.
So it's sad. They take the bridle off of him. Yeah. That
was a reference to the last episode because Elendil had just told Isildur that like when you ride in a battle together, you become bonded. And so he knows your heart now. And so Barrick knows that Isildur is still alive. So he's like, we can't go.
Yeah, we can't leave.
I got to go get my homie.
That's right, Andy. Good catch. Barrick went off to find his bro.
His buddy. His rotten soldier.
And that's where we find out that Elendil is really angry at Galadriel. He says, I should have left her in the sea. Should have never put her on the boat. And we cut back to Theo. He's looking for Bronwyn. They've reached the village now.
Yeah, the best place he figures to look for is in the medical tent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because she would be healing people.
He walks in. Oh, fuck.
Yeah. People.
Oh, my God. Yeah, everywhere he looks.
It's like a war film all of a sudden. I mean, there's some brutal wounds in there. I feel like I'm watching Band of Brothers. And he's looking around like, ugh. And he thinks he sees like the head of his mother poking out on a cot.
Stumbling out, puking, and Mom bumps into him.
And we find Bronwyn safe as can be. She cool. And then Arondir walks out pretty much unscathed. I am here as well. And I still want to marry your mother.
It's funny you thought I could have died.
And Theo embraces him. Good character moment there. He finally lets him welcome him into the family, right? What's up, stepdaddy? I accept you. Muriel's looking like Kenshi from Mortal Kombat. She's got the
Such a good pull.
she's got the red what's the word, bandana kind of
Yeah, the
tied around her eyes.
yeah.
Everything.
And Elendil's saying, hey, we're all going to head back to Numenor. We're going to leave one garrison behind to kind of collect any of our wayward soldiers and kind of help them
Help
resettle.
the Southlanders resettle, yeah.
Yeah. And Galadriel walks up. Elendil lets her know it's Galadriel. She kneels and Muriel says, hey, we don't kneel in Numenor. And Galadriel, somewhat obtusely, I felt like, said, well, we're not in Numenor, which I knew she meant it apologetically. Like, I'm trying my best to, not swear fealty, but offer my condolences, apologize.
I feel bad for this.
Yeah. And
Also, you're blind. I'm not sure if you knew that.
yeah, we're not in Numenor. I don't know if you know. No boats were gotten upon yet. This is awkward. Do you know where you're at? And then Muriel says Numenor will return. She's angry and she's resolute. Save your fucking pity, elf. I'll be back.
Our enemies do not know what they have begun.
Hella soldiers coming.
Which
we're
we've
gonna
been
bring.
making ableist jokes, but like that was badass.
Oh, it was such a great scene. And Muriel's a great character, and maybe Farazan will come back. Just that well-coiffed beard riding the crest of the boat. Steve, calm down.
Oh my God. You cannot let a beard like that not be appreciated by the
The
world.
Southlands will be in awe of that man.
that guy.
Yeah, and then hopefully Kevin doesn't come.
If Farazan showed up with his beard, I bet Mount Doom would be like, oh, you know what? There's enough fire in this world already.
We shall be quenched. And we cut back to the Harfoots gathering what they can. They're all sad. Largo goes up to his daughter, Nori, and says, hey, cheer up, Buttercup. And she's like, but literally, why? And even
Literally. Why?
even Sadok is like, leave us alone. We just want to be sad. And we just let us weep. And Largo's like, weeping? Is that all you think we've got left to us? And he gives his best Samwise Gamgee impression.
Yeah.
Cheers all of the Harfoots up, tells them, the true nature of a Harfoot, which is essentially like, hey, we may not be fast or tall
We don't fight
or
dragons.
good in bed, or we're good at reading or writing or math or building or literally anything.
We can't beat the first level on Mario.
Never have we once beaten Mario.
No.
However, what we can do is stay true to each other. And basically, when we get
really
knocked
good at
down,
that.
we get up again.
There's a Chumbawamba reference. It's every Rings of Power episode we get a Chumbawamba. I don't know how this has happened.
I don't either.
Every goddamn episode. of
We
Rings of
drink a
Power.
whiskey drink. We drink a vodka drink.
We drink an apple cider drink.
Ooh.
Well, we
Deep
don't.
cut back to, we don't because they're all
We
burnt.
don't. Those all
We
burnt.
would have.
We would have totally loved an apple cider drink. But we do sing songs that remind us of the good times.
And
The songs that remind us of the better times.
Better times.
Nori decides that she's going to go find the stranger to warn him of the 3 extremely powerful magic users that just eviscerated their whole clan. And then Poppy says she's going to go with her, right?
I'm coming with you.
And then her mother says she'll go as well. I don't recall her name at this moment, not going to lie. And then Malva forces Sadok to go. You're going to need a trail finder. And he's like, fetch me my stick. Rolling out. I always keep that motherfucking thing on me.
Is it Marigold?
It could be. I believe so.
Yeah. I actually really like the scene of Malva just because we've been kind of like shitting all over
I
Malva.
put
Like,
in my
Malva,
notes,
why you
even
suck?
Malva.
But Malva like, hey, Sadok, you're going to fetch this guy. And Sadok's like, Malva, for once, I would really like it if you weren't right all the time.
Except for the time where you suggested we leave the Brandyfoots to die.
Yeah. I mean, that was
You're
pretty
kind of
fucked
wrong
up.
in that moment. Every other time, though, spot on.
Spot on, baby.
I love this scene. I thought it was spectacular. And Malva has a line specifically, what's the good of living if you ain't living good?
If you get busy living or get busy dying, am I right?
Dude, I was going to say channeling Shawshank Redemption to the finest. but I mean, in a good way. And then Brooks was just carving on one of the trees and they were like, whoa.
Whoa, Brooks.
We're going to get the apples again. And okay.
I do love Sadok's last line. I'm going to be stealing this and using this in real life where he's like, all right, I'll fetch provisions and get me stick. I don't know why.
Every time I invite you anywhere, if you don't text me back, I'll fetch provisions
and get me stick.
Anytime we go to the bar, you better get your stick.
And fetch provision beforehand.
It's called pre-gaming nowadays. I'm going to go fetch provisions. Yeah. We cut to Muriel on the fucking boat again, but at least
just for a split second.
Yeah, it was cool though. She's heading back to Numenor to get reinforcements. And Gal is what I call her in my notes. Galati, certain. She doesn't believe she'll return with soldiers. She is quite certain of it because Queen Regent Muriel is a woman of her word. And then she says that, or Bronwyn says that the remaining humans are going to go to Pelargir with fresh land, fresh water. And then Arendir kicks in. I can do this for a fresh start.
And some Hello Fresh.
And now from a word from our that would have been amazing.
Could you fucking imagine?
God, that would have been amazing.
Oh my God, that would be so good.
Sorry, that's not true though. But maybe they could find better help in Pelargir from some other.
Yes.
And then Galadriel says she's going to report to High King Gil-galad and probably be in loads of trouble, is what she implies there. And then she's like, what about your king? Where's the other main character? And they're like, you haven't heard?
Oh, we forgot about him. Shit.
So they go into the tent. Halbrand has what I believe to be a terrible wound. I don't have an expert on hand to tell me whether or not it was in fact that, but it looked like it to me, to my untrained eye. And then Galadriel decides he's going to need elvish medicine. Maybe Elrond, who's known to be a healer, will be able to help.
Hello, it's me.
Oh, Elrond?
No, it's me, Marty B.
Oh, Marty B, good to see you.
I did my understudy with the elves. They have very great medicine. It will heal all sorts of terrible wounds.
Mm-hmm. And do you think Halbrand did indeed suffer from what you would call a terrible wound?
No, because he's Sauron. He's Sauron. That's not a wound.
You still sticking with Halbrand as Sauron, huh?
Oh, I'm sorry. Did villagers find him on the road? Injured? No one saw him get injured?
How did he get that wound?
Convenient. That's all I'm saying. Oh, is that the story he told everyone? Oh, some villagers.
Andy wasn't here for this, and I know he doesn't listen to the show. Steve had a phenomenal interpretation of last episode's events, the scene between Adar and Galadriel, which was wonderful. And then Halbrand comes in and he's furious with Adar, right? Because what did Adar say he did? Took down Sauron and killed him is what Adar said he did, right? So if Halbrand was Sauron, he would be angry at Adar, right? Yeah. And they were pretty vague about what he did to Halbrand, quote unquote. Yeah. As was Steve's interpretation of that scene. Like that. And I was like, oh shit, you're reining me back in. Mm-hmm. That would be a really good twist.
And you heard it here first, everybody.
It might be third.
Oh no, I'm holding on to this one.
You were pretty early on the Halbrand train.
I was like when was he introduced?
You were among the first to stick to it when it seemed like all hope was lost, for sure. Mm-hmm. But
Hold.
Braveheart reference.
I'm with you on that, Steve. I like that interpretation.
And then Theo's still got the good guy sword. And what's he say? For the Southlands.
Strength to the Southlands.
Yeah, strength to the Southlands. Everybody, rally your dags for the Southlands. And everybody kind of bows to Halbrand / Sauron as he walks down the trail to get elvish medicine. And we cut back to Diza just going in even harder than before. Your dad fucking sucks.
He sucks.
Never liked him. He's trash.
He's got so much lice in his beard.
His beard's made of straw.
Yeah.
And she's just filled with ambition. You are Durin the Fourth. Me and you are going to rock this bitch. We're going to suck all the mithril out of this big veiny mountain.
It's
and we're going to rule for 1,000 years.
Ours, you and me. I get half. All of it, half.
For sure.
She deserves it.
For sure.
She deserves it.
More than that table she deserves.
Ain't no prenup.
He's going to be King D. They're going to shorten it to King D.
I didn't realize how vibrant her eyes were.
Oh, that's what I was looking at the whole time too. Like those contacts are real? Amazing.
I thought that's.
I mean, they've always been popping, but in this scene, I was like, wow, those are gorgeous.
Yeah. Dang.
And then we cut to briefly King Doran seal up the mithril mine. He tosses that healed leaf into the hole and it flutters all the way down to an angry Balrog.
And you literally made the joke, be careful, that's going to wake up the Balrog. And it did. That was hysterical.
That was the first of 2 jokes that we made.
Yes. And we'll
That
get to
turned
this.
out to be right.
very prescient.
Like, we were joking.
I like the Balrog plug, even though it's a little comical because it didn't seem like that far down. And he's just like,
Yeah, he's just like,
keep digging a little bit more.
You're almost there.
I want to get you. I want to get you.
Fire whip. I'm like, ta, ta.
Where's Balon?
Beetlejuice, wait for them to say the name the 3rd time. Like,
He's down there like, I'm going to give him a royal welcome.
It's the puppets from Labyrinth. Didn't they say it yet?
them's not the words.
We cut to Adar and his newly renovated homeland. The orcs I like this much better, my lord. Love the fire. Love the darkness.
I love that we do not have to wear the sheet over our face.
Yes. The French orc is delighted.
So delighted. I'm going to have a crepe.
Enza probably loves the French orc if she listens to these.
She doesn't listen to these.
She's got to for funsies every now and then, right?
Oh, man.
She hates the French.
She's missing out if she's not, because there's a lot of anti-friendship.
Not on purpose.
Not on purpose.
In America, we know very few of them, but
The French arc is a friend to all.
a friend to all.
You sound like you're gagging when you say orc. I love it.
That is how you say the name of my people. The arcs.
And then, yeah, exactly. No more daylight, so you don't have to hide anymore. This is so hammy. I can't even say it. How does somebody write, film, and look at this and go, yes? So they go, the Southlands look much better. And he's like, no, it is no longer the Southlands. That is a place that no longer exists.
Adar.
And then he looks up at the volcano and the silhouette of the volcano. And then a title card pops up and says the Southlands and then crumbles and falls away and is replaced quickly by Mordor. Like we didn't already know that.
Andy literally joked, it's going to say Mordor.
No, he said it's going to get crossed out and become Mordor. And it
And then
essentially
it
happened. Channeling its best Han Solo naming moment from Solo.
What a weird place to put a title card too, in the upper left-hand corner of the screen. Like, odd choice. And then like, why was that would have been if they left the episode just like, what should we name it? Oh, it shouldn't be the Southland. It should be something different. And then you linger on the volcano. That's foreboding. And
give
You
the
get
slightest.
we got where you were going with this.
yeah.
Assume the slightest bit of intellect on the part of the audience.
It's like, dude, this could have been like a Game of Thrones moment. Like they could have been chanting, more Adar, more Adar, more door, more.
Like Hodor.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the joke I made, right? I was like, this could use more door. I didn't expect him to fucking, that was so bad.
Because not only do they like use text to really be super fucking on the nose, and they don't need to be, but it's even so corny, like the text they
It's
choose.
even different fonts. Yeah, dude.
And it like has this like really corny ass animation between the, it's like, oh, why did you ruin this?
Yeah, it was bad.
I mean, it didn't ruin the episode, but like that moment was definitely like the legs were
It would have been a great moment if it had just faded to black on Adar looking at the volcano. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, that brings us to our second breakfast. Any kind of lore tidbits that you guys pulled out of this, Steve?
Well, I had 3, and I think they appear like basically in the same scene. But when Galadriel and Theo were under the tree and then the orcs come, it reminded me of the scene when the hobbits are hiding from the ringwraith under the tree.
Get off the road.
Get off the road.
I want to jump in there too, because there's that another scene that happens right there. That's also a second breakfast where the orc, says, "What is it? What do you smell?" That's pulled directly from Lord of the Rings too. He says, "Man flesh." Only in this time it's orc flesh or ash in this case, but nothing at all. I'm not sure why I stopped actually. But
they don't have the noses that Nazgul have.
The what is it? What do you smell? Was pulled directly from that. Anyway, go on.
That was my second
Shit,
breakfast.
sorry.
And then when the Sith Lords are showing up to fuck with the Harfoots, you get the really creepy ringwraith music, that like like where it's just whispers. You get that cool soundtrack. Like the Friday the 13th. Yeah, those are mine. Andy, do you have any more?
This wound needs elvish medicine. Galadriel talking about Sauron's wound is definitely an Aragorn.
The
Frodo.
Morgul blade wound.
Let's see here.
This is beyond my art to heal.
Sadak,
Ning-do-ling-do-laya.
when he sees the stranger going ming-de-ling-de-laya to the trees, he says that they're saying little words to the trees. And then his wife says, trees don't speak. And he says, some do. And he's talking about Ents.
Oh,
Because Ents do speak.
Ents do be speaking. Well, I wish we'd seen more Ents by now, because this is where we could have seen female Ents by now.
We did see them a couple in the first episode.
I wanted
think.
some more Ent action, though.
Yeah, I want to see them. Let them fuck.
I have one thing. Pelargir, two things. Pelargir, the place that the Bronwyn says that the humans are going to go. That is a city a port city in the Southlands that will later come to be known as Gondor.
Oh shit.
So that's huge.
I wrote down Pelagir because I want to know what it was, but I didn't look it up yet.
That's the origin of the Gondorian people. I don't know if that's how you say that.
That's cool.
And I thought that this is a deep swing. You guys pulled most of the big ones out, like the Galadriel and Theo hiding, just like the Hobbit sit in Fellowship and the smelling and all that stuff and the Ents. But when we joked about it being Samwise Gamgee, but I think that was very much intentionally supposed to be reticent. That scene where Nori says she's going to go, and then Poppy says, "I'm coming with you."
I'm coming too.
That's the fucking Hobbit spirit that we know, right? That's the Merry, that's the Pippin, that's the Sam and Frodo group right there. And I think lending to the fact that the stranger is Gandalf more and more and more, because that makes 100% thematic sense for the person he comes to be, somebody with such an affinity toward the Hobbit people. I would be shocked if that was not Gandalf at this point. I know a lot of people online think that's like a low-hanging fruit, like lame reveal for his character. I kind of agree, because they let it be a secret for so long that it's shouldn't be the most obvious thing. But I would be shocked if it wasn't Gandalf because of stuff like this. What do you think?
I agree wholeheartedly. I definitely think that's Gandalf. I got big Merry and Pippin at the Council of Elrond vibes, where it's like, wait, we're coming too. You have to send us tied home in a sack to stop us.
Elrond's looking like super annoyed. Like I was under the
That's
impression
all.
this
You
was a
need
secret
people of
meeting.
intelligence on this sort of mission. Quest. Thing.
That rules you out, Pip.
Anyway, yeah, I got those big vibes too.
Absolutely.
I still kind of get Sauron vibes from him, specifically when he was telling that sexy little tree to sprout fruit.
It's gonna be okay.
Like the way his hands were kind of gripping the tree reminded me of the way like Sauron's hands would be kind of
Christopher Lee did kind of ham that up.
like,
with
yeah. Again, if it was Gandalf, I'd be totally okay with it.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a definite love of the halfling's leaf sprouting in this stranger.
I don't think I'm like super invested as to who the stranger is. Like it could.
I hope we never find out.
Ooh,
Damn
that's a
you,
hot
Andy.
take. Hey, they said they wanted to make this a 5-season show, so season 5, he'll be like, "Words still hard."
It sounded like Zoolander.
It's gonna be Elle.
I can't
from Stranger
turn
Things,
left.
Season 3, like still not quite getting it.
Yeah,
And then we get Blue Steel, finally.
I got the black lung pop.
That's what a seal door is going to say coming out. We cut to our old Toby segment. That's the next segue I got for you. Our finest scenes in the South Farling are our top 3 favorite moments of the episode. Steve, kick it off. What's your number 3 favorite moment? And actually, I had like 7 contenders in this.
Oh, wow.
What's your number 3?
My number 3 isn't really just a scene. It was just, I really, really liked the way they shot the post-volcano aesthetic.
I agree.
The ash everywhere, the orange glow, even when like Theo and Galadriel are first walking together and with that wide shot, and it's just oranges, and it was very, very pretty, and it really lent itself to this like apocalyptic world. And I love that they like kind of kept going with that theme, where the further they were getting away from it, the less and less that look held. I thought it was very consistent. I know that's not a scene, but I really, really appreciated that aspect of the episode.
Absolutely. Andy, you're number 3.
My number 3 was the title cards popping up, transitioning from the Southlands to Mordor. So my number 3 was, let me find it. Durin standing up to his dad. when Durin was saying, older Durin was saying that steel must be tempered, and younger Durin says, consign your allies to death is not tempering. You profane the crown that you wear. I thought that was beautiful. I thought that was effective. It was probably the most emotionally impactful moment of the episode. In fact, it's not my number 3. It's my number 1. So I'll come back around with my 3 and 2.
Did you talk yourself into it being number 1 or did you accidentally read number 1?
No, I just talked myself into it as I was thinking about it. I had it listed as number 3 and I was like, fuck, that actually was really good.
Moved up 2 spots immediately.
Just watch something happen here.
I just thought so much about like
it's like when Paul McCartney wrote "Get Back" on that.
the implication of standing up to the king is like, and how like how subservient he's been to his father up to this point. He's kind of like, oh, I wish my dad would let me do a thing, but has otherwise kowtowed to his wishes, and in this moment he didn't. I'll let it stay my number 3, but it deserves higher.
Asterisks.
I expect it to be on your guys' list.
My number 3 is the torch hand moment from the Cult of Sauron when they teleport and do the I think they're genuinely, malicious looking, malevolent looking. And very effective in the way that the Nazgul were in the original trilogy. And I thought the magic was cool. It's really nice to see somebody effectively use magic. It's just a super fucking cool moment. Steve, what was your number 2?
My number 2 was the come on, Hardfoots, we're doing a thing. We're going on an adventure. I just really like seeing, it reminded me, we talked about it briefly, the end of the first half of Fellowship of the Ring when all the hobbits come out like, I'm going too. And it was just such a fun little moment. We got a nice little turn from Malva even. We got a great line from Sadok. I almost expected, is her dad's name Largo?
I got that from you. I hope that's his name.
I think it's Largo.
Now you're not confident. It's making me. Yeah, it is Largo.
I expected him to also take part in it just because he had that scene a little bit prior to that. But no, it was just a fun, we've talked about it so often. We love scenes that are like, let's do a thing together. Huzzah.
Well, Largo's probably staying out of it because they were like, hey, you're stuck with Dilly and your wife and daughter are going to go probably die. And he's just like, well, wait just a second there. I also said we weren't really good at anything else.
You guys took the wrong lessons.
I don't think you have the skills. What are you, Liam Neeson all of a sudden? Andy, what's your number 2?
My number 2 is Disa and Durin kind of planning their ascension when she basically says, no, your dad's...
Disa gonna ascend?
Some people gonna die? Disa's basically like, your dad's a crusty ass bitch. You're going to be king. This Mithril's ours.
So much lice in that beard.
I just thought like that was the most like effective that we've gotten to see Disa and the most agency that
most they've given her to do.
Yeah, exactly. For the most part, she's been like, I'm the wife that has a lot to say, and this time it was like, no, things need to happen and we're going to make them happen. And that was really cool. And it was just great acting all around. And again, kind of tying into what was my number 3 and should be my number 1. The implication of it is massive. And I thought it was great.
Yeah, absolutely. Is it my number 2? The Andy's number 3 that became number 1. The moment with, specifically the moment before the storm, but that whole scene. But King Durin telling the story of the baby that he wanted to have a beard. And
Snapchat filter.
Thought that was an incredible scene. And like Andy pointed out, I mean, just emoted in all the right ways. And we've always said that Prince Durin is carrying the show as far as like identifying with a character, and the relationship between he and Elrond is probably the most well-maintained and well-formed they have between any 2 characters in the show. Him and his dad, though, I mean, you get to, it's a tragic thing unfolding because you realize that Durin, gathering agency and receiving this encouragement from Disa is ultimately the undoing of a whole branch of dwarven people. And it's very, very sad to know that, right? But also you get where they're coming from. So that's my number 2. Steve, your favorite moment of episode 7, The Eye, a title that I knew.
It was that moment, that scene with the double Durins. You guys have pretty much touched on everything about why that scene's great. I think both actors are crushing it. There was in my notes there, I have so many bullet points from that scene because there was just like crazy good line after crazy good line after crazy good line. And it's really just, it's this crescendo of this conflict that has been brewing between the father and son. And that's a relatable sort of like thing that we can all relate to, is like, you, with any parent, like, you need to let me be my own person, and you're stifling me. And I need to, you're stifling all my ambition, and I love how when he's like, what does he say about his mom? Like, I like Elrond just as much as if he was my own brother, as if he was from the fire of my own mother. And he's like, how dare you, say profane your mother's name. And it was just a really, really fascinating scene. And Durin continues to carry the show for me.
Yes.
Andy?
Andy, you got to circle back to your number 3 at this point.
So this might be my number 2. I don't know. I kind of lost the math on it at this point. But so my number 1 with an asterisk is the Muriel blind reveal. And that's mostly because of my experience that I had in the moment to moment as it went down. So she's riding along with Elendil, and she was like, how far is it going to be? And he's like, we're pretty close, Your Grace. And then she says, like, when are we going to get out of this smoke? And like in my head, I was like, oh, this is like the, are we there yet? Like, annoying, funny thing. And then, he says that we're out of the smoke. And then I literally said out loud, like, oh shit. And so I
don't want the smoke.
What I thought was kind of a joke, I realized was like a reveal of something extremely tragic. And so my experience of the sequence was like, oh my God, like my stomach dropped. And I thought that the way that they went about that reveal was fantastic, because like, did you guys see it coming at all? Like, no, I thought it was genius.
I did not.
And then I realized as it was unfolding, like the way that she had been playing that moment, just staring straight ahead, like, when are we going to be there? She's blind as shit, and like isn't totally sure that she is yet. I thought it was genius.
Yeah, and that would be a terrible thing, especially in that moment.
And the way when she does kind of start to piece it together that she is blind, the way her voice wavers a little bit.
And she handles it like a champ. Save your fucking pity, elf. Don't worry.
Oh, yeah.
When she's like, keep walking.
Yeah, I don't want them to see, because they're going to lose heart. Like, she's a great leader. Yeah. Because I'd fall off the horse like, no.
Yeah.
Elendil just
start rubbing leaves on him.
Elendil. He leaves her hanging like twice in this episode.
I know.
Twice he does that to her.
He's in his own world. He's just lost his son, he thinks, right? My number 1 moment is the Harfoot speech delivered by Largo. I thought, that's where I said at the beginning of this recording that I felt like there's a moment that surprised me at the weight that it had with me emotionally. I cried talking about these damn Harfoots and how sturdy they are. You just got to keep trudging. We got big feet and we keep putting one in front of the other. That's our fucking talent.
We got bigger hearts.
And I am a sucker for that. The movie Rudy with Sean Astin. Love it. He's not very good at football, but he just got the heart of a lion. And I think, on a serious note, that this moment encapsulates the spirit of the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Everyone's idea of Lord of the Rings, its like thematic heart, is this sentiment. Like, we don't belong here. We're too small to do this. No one would ever think twice about us, but God damn it, we're going to do it because we're the only ones that can. And that was cool. It's the first of that I've seen in this show, right? Other than Nori just kind of having really kind of toxic grandiosity almost, like, 'cause she has endangered her tribe at every turn so far.
Toxic grandiosity. Coining that.
Write that down and jot that down. But yeah, I was very, very moved by Largo's speech, and then everyone being rallied by it, and Nori saying, I'll go, and me too. Like all that stuff. I loved it. That's my number 1. And now it's time for the one performance to rule them all. Our favorite performance in this episode. Steve, take it away. Which dwarf you picking?
I like how you say that, because it's Owain Arthur.
Owain Arthur for the third time, for the third streaming from Steve.
I think it's only the second time.
I picked him twice for sure.
I think this is my second time giving it to him. Don't quote me on that. Listener, tell me if I'm wrong.
I think you're right.
But No, like they gave him surprisingly a lot of scenes in this episode, and he really, really brought it.
He's incredible
every single time. Like even the moment when him and Elrond are in the tunnel, and he's like, "Do you want to hear my secret name?" Just the look on his face, like you can tell it means so much to him to even think that he's going to say this to Elrond, and he says something like, I believe he's saying it to his dad earlier in the episode where he's like, he's as close to me as a brother. He's drowning and he's reaching out his hand for me to bring him to shore, and you're not letting me
you want me to swat it? Yeah.
Want me to swat it away? Like he is so good in this episode of being just this boisterous character that's funny, but also as soon as he gets his weepy, wet eyeballs, like I'm about to tear up. I'm Durin. Oh, he gets me every time. Like, oh, don't make Durin cry.
Don't do it.
Don't make Durin cry, Durin.
He gets angry when he cries. Yeah, Durin, be nice to Durin.
Durin.
I'm going to call Durin.
I mean, you saw him. He had a beard as a baby, okay? Let him mind the mithril, okay? But he's my one performance. Andy, who is your performance?
So my number one performance, I'm going to give to Sophia Numvet, the actress that plays Disa. This is the first time that she's got some true agency, and she crushed it. And those eyes, they pull you right in, and mostly because it was this loving encouragement of her husband and partner, but also like this reveal of ambition and, design. And I thought that was really fantastic and really, really, really well done.
Agreed. I'm going to give it to Dylan Smith, the man who plays Largo. Again, I thought he's just been a pretty immaculate character actor in the side. Like, I'm a goofy little Harfoot. I broke my leg. Owie, I'm idiosyncratic. I'm idiosyncratic.
I have a kid named Dilly.
But I think, apparently, I think
Where did you come from?
rose up out of the ashes, wink, wink, and delivered again, like the true heart of Lord of the Rings in this episode. And with gusto. And so with that, I give it to Dylan Smith. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at streamingthingspod. You can also subscribe to our Patreon at patreon.com/streamingthings at a variety of tiers. Some of them will get you t-shirts and swag. Some of them will get you guest appearances on this show, allow you to make us watch movies and devote a whole episode to them, or just get extra bonus episodes that you get to vote on each month. Stuff like that at patreon.com/streamingthings. You can also email the show, and we recommend that you do anytime at streamingthingspod@gmail.com. That's streamingthingspod@gmail.com. Let us know your thoughts on any of the stuff that we're covering, anything that we missed, corrections and things like that, or suggestions for other things to watch, or just in general well wishes. Also, be sure to rate and review the show wherever you're listening. That helps us out a ton. You can do that for free and help boost us in the algorithms and feeds of everyone else. 5 stars preferably. iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, anywhere you're listening, give us a review. That'll be very helpful. That's all the time we have for right now. My name is Chris.
I'm Andy.
And I'm Steve.
And this was Streaming Things. Happy streaming. It's time for the new patron shout outs. Thank you all.
Well, guys, I've got great news for you. We have new patrons to thank.
Yes.
Well, let's give a shout out to the people who joined up and became members of the Streaming Things family this month. First, in the Try Before You Deny section, we have Stanton and Valerie.
Stanton and Valerie, man, thank you so much. And never forget, just try before you deny, man.
Our new Marty B VIP producers include Ryan Bigger, Maggie, HHS Teacher, Hailey B, Abby Vollmer, Florida Josh, Christopher Corelli, and Alex.
Florida Josh, are you the man that all those articles have been written about?
Next up, we have our chocolate pudding producers. We have Tile, Jillian Sloan, Alex Lembeck, Jennifer Lynn Itzvan, Lauren Hartzier, Morgan Quimby, Ryan J. Poole, Misa McDaniel.
Is that like a Jar Jar
Jar Jar,
Binks thing?
yeah, I don't
Misa
know.
McDaniel.
Misa give you some Kabongo.
The planet core. Erica Swanson, Courtney Kilpack, Michelle, Katie, Joe Velez, Barry, Jenna, Melanie Bordelone, Alicia Martinez, Isis, Amy S., and Jennifer Hardy. It's not that ISIS. We also have some Friends Don't Lie producers that joined this month. That is Claire Cumming Herrero and Jenna. And then we cannot forget the people who upgraded the Patreon. So these are people who were at lower tiers and decided, hey, you know what? I'm going to shoot for the distance. I'm going to go
make it
higher tier.
rain.
I'm going for speed.
Yeah, they got one of those little guns that shoot dollar bills and they just like shot it right all over us. First up, upgrading to the Try Before You Deny tier, we have Adam Horn.
Welcome, Adam.
He's a longtime contributor, Adam. Thank you so much.
Long time.
Upgrading to the Marty B VIP section because I knew it was so cool. There's a Nina in there. We've got Maria, Ali Ewald, Rachel Malloy, and Tony Dare.
I Tony dare you guys to upgrade further.
Well, one person took you up on that. They upgraded to the chocolate pudding tier, and that is Jenna.
Jenna, welcome and
Jenna.
thank you.
Thank you.
You have found the chocolate pudding.